Welcome back to the show. I'm feeling somewhat troubled this week by things that I've been seeing online lately. Not necessarily singular videos or ideas being bandied about, but I'm more trying to piece together various stories or happenings to try and parse out what they mean or if they even mean anything. I hope it's okay that I go into more of a stream of consciousness off of my notes here for the first half or so of this episode. Maybe the whole thing. I don't know what's going on this week because big snowstorm coming, so I might get out of here and go somewhere else. So I might get more structured later on in this show. I saw an article, though, this week that was about women getting surgery to get the, quote, perfect butthole. I found this odd and maybe not disturbing, but I'm not really sure what feeling this causes, this triggers within my soul. Like, what are you guys doing out there to these women's psyches? Are they self-conscious about their shitholes now? Or are they just getting blown out and need reconstructive surgery because they're getting ran through? What's going on? What is going on? Are these women adopting a gay man's lifestyle now? Instead of using their pussies, they're getting railed, absolutely railed in the back door. The article was scarce on information, or maybe I just forgot because that was numerous days ago, maybe a week ago. In any case, I also keep seeing these videos with the AI overlays. Like there's a guy talking in the video, and then he uses AI to create a realistic looking female avatar, which replaces him in the video. Now this is getting used to promote products. So not only am I trying to keep track of all of the geopolitical hotspots recently and what the angles are there, I've also got to piece together what the end of the era of the image looks like. Well, image of real life women era of the internet. This is their Maduro extraction moment. Attention is no longer dominated by an image of flesh. Rather, it's a simulation of the flesh, trained on the data of every thirst trap, photo, or video that's ever been taken. I start to question, how does this damage hoflation? Do the harems of the top percentiles of men start to get even larger now because they're chasing fewer and fewer opportunities? Is there a mad scramble to secure your position for women, like they're going after Greenland? And for those men, those top men, do they get to pick up these women at fire sale prices now? And not necessarily monetarily, but does this damage the fly me out market? That app? Or sugar baby market? So social media is going to be flooded continuously with virtual models that will become more and more complex, realistic, and masters at projecting a winning personality that these hoes can't compete with. Just how many videos will be churned out? The only views that a lot of these videos might have, if any, will be botted likes or other AI agents trying to scale up and outcompete the other AI hookers to get to the top of that heap, not really communicating with anyone. These models are just a Frankenstein's monster of pixels trained on the videos of Insta thoughts of times past, just dancing and shaking their virtual bodies for nobody. The world's gone dark. It's gone quiet. It reminds me of that Jean Baudrillard book, America, where he's traveling through the United States. And he's talking about the TV being left on in an empty room. its message he's talking about, whatever is on the screen, it's not addressed to anyone. Sort of like some alien planet is trying to communicate with you, the human. If an AI thought is performing while a Drake song is playing in a loop over the video and nobody is there to beat off to it, does it really exist? Is the butthole perfection surgery an opening salvo in the arms race for women and flesh and blood reality? Are they going to look smacks even harder to try and distinguish themselves from the avatars being programmed out of Mumbai or Tel Aviv, wherever they're doing this, wherever these AI agents are being cranked out? Does it go beyond visually perfect buttholes? I don't know who that's for. Honestly, what is it? Who is that surgery for? Unless it's reconstructive. Do you guys be out there inspecting balloon knots while you're in bed with women? What am I, the odd man out here in terms of this behavior? Maybe so. But what does this all mean? Why am I the only one not staring at whatever woman I'm dating's butthole? What is this surgery for? What is AI? The powers that be, they're going to make it illegal not to pay attention to women online. Is that what's about to happen here? The dopamine crash of no longer getting likes and DMs to the same extent that they used to. That's going to hit these streets hard. It'll be too difficult to determine who is real and who's fake. Thus, leading to there not being any more anons on the internet. No more anonymous posting. This is all going to cause digital ID to verify. It's going to be rolled out. It's going to be used to verify which whole picture is real and which of them is just simply AI generated. And this will also allow them to promote safety of women not getting attention. And they'll use this digital ID to hide any thoughts or opinions that may be critical of local governments or the general powers that be. Davos is going on right now. WEF, World Economic Forum. Are they going to roll out the new safety laws, the new precautions? The internet will decouple into various blocks. We saw Iran during the protests. They shut down their internet and made Starlink unable to function. I don't know how they did that, but they did it. Before we probably go to war with them for whatever fucking reason. Israel or whatever. In China is already, they've shut down the outside internet behind the Great Firewall for a long time. They've done this. And the AI women, this is going to open up a new front for national security. Oh, and I guess I have to mention, since I mentioned Starlink, I have to update folks on something I've been saying. I probably said last episode, and I've been saying for a couple years now on this podcast and in real life, that Tesla, they announced that they're going to start making the full self-driving a subscription service. Told you, I've been saying this. This is step one. Step one before the robo-taxis that are subscription-based come along. They ban cars outright, and you can either get ad-subsidized or ad-free versions of the robo-taxi, whether it's Tesla or Waymo or whoever else comes along. Maybe some Chinese firm. Maybe they'll still be able to sneak in the market. And these robo-taxis are going to be used to geographically limit where you can go based on your economic status and political or social beliefs. If you do not support the system, you will be locked into a very small area or banned completely from using a robo-taxi. And you can't drive anywhere, so good luck with that. Elon, that African beast. Is that racist? The big-lipped African beast. I think I stole that from Chappelle's show. But he's a white guy. That's what I've been referring to Elon Musk lately as. I think it's a good nickname. And it's not a slur because he's white. Again. And I'm pretty sure that if things play out the way I've been saying on this podcast about the future, about technology and his role in it, his rolling out of AI, robotics, and surveillance state weapons, the moniker will surely fit. Back to the AI women as a national security issue. Dopes online, dumb people, have already been giving romance scammers all their money. They've been getting scanned by random foreigners for a while now. There are videos all over YouTube about that. They think they're talking to Brad Pitt or, I don't know, Johnny Depp was one of them. And this behavior is only going to accelerate and start picking up smarter people. It's just not the dummies getting targeted anymore. Or at least those that can be hypnotized and manipulated by an AI agent. This controlled facsimile of a woman that looks totally real. Older people are already going to get nuked. Foreigners are going to get nuked too. But they're also going to run the scam at the same time. USAID, domestic fraud, remittances, all this has been getting slashed by the Trump admin. That means lots of money that would otherwise make it into these poorer countries. It's not going to be there anymore. The scams using cheap AI agents, creating these models, these scams will be stepped up to make enough money to cover the shortfall. And the holes, the buttholes of these models will be visually stunning. You got to make sure that there's a high conversion rate for whatever they're selling or scamming. It doesn't even have to be a scam. They could just use it to create some digital abomination, sexual content, or even a legit product. It can be used for non-scammy things. You're going to have AI avatar models hawking products, and real people, those women who sell, supplements and stuff, bye, you're not needed anymore. It's quite possibly going to decimate the economy of the UK. The Fans of Only, that company, it's based out of there. And I'm told that the plot of the upcoming Bond movie is going to be about the depletion of Her Majesty's strategic pussy reserve. Fake AI women are bypassing the coffers of OF. That company's no longer getting their cut out of the various creator pictures and videos because you don't really need them anymore. Or maybe they'll take over the entire platform. For some of them, at least. But why would you need them? Because you can just get AI agents to create another competing app that people can sign up for. It's a dangerous situation indeed. A further decoupling of the global internet to secure such vital assets, like prostitutes, online prostitutes. Nations need to act now to protect themselves from such a menacing scenario. They're already writing white papers about alien disclosure over in the UK. I saw this. So why not add another threat to what's piling up for the UK? They've already got to monitor Russia and the potentiality of Trump disclosing alien life. But now they got to also worry about losing online hooker apps and tax revenue from that. And the alien thing, apparently a former Bank of England analyst, one analyst over there, thinks that it's potentially bullish for Bitcoin. So if Trump discloses alien life, people are going to panic. And people will lose their trust in the institutions even more. And markets will be in turmoil. And now the precious metals, they might get dinged when that happens too, because getting all that gold and silver and whatnot, platinum from space, might actually be possible. If we have contacts with the aliens and have their craft, we could already do it. Does the explosion in gold and silver hold up despite all the panic? Maybe not. So maybe Bitcoin's the answer. I need to sell my gold and silver though, if that's the case. Maybe I already should since silver is pumped so much. And my cost basis is like $26. Hell yeah, man. It's not a lot of money, but it feels so good getting a multiple of something. And these fucking aliens better be revealed pretty soon, pal. I need to sell down the rest of my Bitcoin for some more cash since I missed the $126,000 top. Shit sucks. I can't get top dollar for this fine asset outside of people seeing an actual ET on their televisions. And the ET rolls up next to President Trump. And then finally, Bitcoin will hit $300,000. Piece of shit. Stupid ass crypto. That mega bull market that never came. There's so much turmoil. And I was looking online about the economy and how college graduates aren't finding jobs. So I decided to look at a job website to see what the rhubarb was locally. I can't even fathom wanting to get up and go to work, honestly. I mean, I probably will at some point here soon. Not out of laziness, but if you want to talk humiliation rituals, I'd say that the job one is way more of a gut punch than dating. People make these videos about how embarrassing dating is. Like, I at least personally have had generally pleasant interactions with women most of the time, almost all the time. And when I don't, it's usually because I didn't screen them hard enough for anti-social behaviors or them not reciprocating effort. But even then, it's never nasty or negative. It's just like, all right, whatever. Even on first dates, when I was using the dating apps, those were usually fine. Even if we didn't really like each other, we just go our separate ways. But with the job thing, it always feels like slavery or being taken advantage of. Maybe excluding someone who really does like their job or just really needs that sort of structure in their lives. I've met many people who said that they're really bored with life outside of work. Me? Nah, I never feel like I have enough time open to me or to explore all the little avenues that my brain wants to go down every day. What triggered me thinking about this was not just that report of college graduates not finding jobs, but I also saw online a trunk from Louis Vuitton that they're selling for just over $120,000. And it's the type of trunk that they created for your clothes when you sailed on a steamship back in like the 1890s. If you don't live in one of the imperial capitals, $120,000 a year is considered a good paying job. I don't personally agree with that. It's fine. People tend to forget the time component to things. So when I was making about that much from a website that I ran, the experience was way different than having a job making over $100,000 because I didn't have to go anywhere or put in very much time every day. And when that happens, there are entirely different options open to you based on when and where and how much effort you have to put in. Nevertheless, that amount of money, the 120 grand or so, it's 2 to 3 times the median individual income in some places. And I was looking up those job listings the other day and earlier today too, in preparation for the show. And man, what an absolute nightmare it is out there for most people. I saw one job where you had to work in a warehouse and you had to be able to use a forklift, and they also wanted you to either speak, this wasn't a requirement, it was a preference, to either speak Spanish or Mandarin Chinese. Oh, and you have to have job experience. And this job paid $17 an hour. Mandarin Chinese. Just say you're going to hire an immigrant. There is no Mandarin Chinese speakers here in any great number, outside of people who go to the university and are coming over from China. The various colleges around here and, foreign students. You prefer Spanish or Chinese. So you're not even looking for anyone who's actual American worker. I have to be on my feet for 8 to 10 hours a day, lifting 50 plus pounds consistently, and I have to ideally speak Chinese. That amount of money with the hours, I calculated to be just under $33,000 a year. And before I had any qualifications, made $18 an hour back in 2013. And this was in a much more comfortable environment. Adjusted for inflation, you'd be making about $13 an hour in 2013 terms if you took this warehouse job. And that's at the official inflation rate, by the way, which we all know probably ain't true. And you're expected to speak an Asian language. There's not even a big Chinese population in this area. So who the hell am I working with here? Would I be working with, or anyone else? I'm not trying to take this job. Trust me. Is this warehouse the scene in The Departed where Jack Nicholson meets with the Chinese and says, "No ticky, no laundry"? Another job I saw. Beyond that, they put the salary on the listing instead of the hourly wage. I was like, oh, that's actually a good amount of money. But then when I calculated the hours, I broke it down. It basically pays $23 to $25 an hour based on experience. So if you have experience, you'll make a whole $1 or $2 an hour more. Ridiculous. And that's probably around the same as the 2013 wage that I made. And in this job, you have to be around chemicals, loud machinery, temperature fluctuations. It's in the middle of nowhere. You're going to have to drive if you want to live anywhere civilized. And you're going to be working 12-hour night shifts on some vampiric shit. So at some point, you got to take a look at the job market and just determine that you're just a slave, right? Really. Or at least a rube simply for having a job nowadays. I know these aren't professional level careers and aren't big on the qualifications front. I mean, Chinese is a pretty big fucking qualification. How many hours that takes? But that second job, the one that's cold and with chemicals, they want you to have a bachelor's degree. And by the way, most of the American populace does not have one. They don't have any college. So this job is an accurate slice of reality for most Americans. Working for $23 to $25 an hour in a 12-hour night shift, yeah, you're making decent money at that point, but at what cost? At what cost? I will say, if you are in that situation, there are some cozier jobs for about the same amount of income. So don't take these bullshit-ass jobs. Do some basic math when you go through job listings and break down the hours, the pay, and take the simplest one available to you, or the one that has the most viable path to make more money with advancement. If you go the easy route, if that's your choice, spend the rest of your time learning some kind of skill set or skill sets. Because goddamn, that is rough. $17 an hour? Oh my God. It's not even on some envy or eat the rich kind of bullshit when I'm saying all this. It's literally the Charles Bukowski quote about work. I don't have it in front of me, but it's like a paragraph. You can just look it up. But the gist of it is the very idea that you got to get up early and drive to work in traffic and work 80 hours per week. Then, after an entire year of that, your pre-tax income is the equivalent of what some motherfucker spent on a Steamline trunk for his clothes. And once you've done that, you're told that you should feel grateful for having the opportunity to work such a job. And that guy who bought the steam trunk for 120 grand, he'll never actually board a steamship. It only cost that much money because Louis Vuitton had an in with Napoleon III's bitch. And it became fashionable, and they kept it up thereafter. An empty box with some leather and fabric pasted to it, stitched to it, is worth more than your labor for at least a year. Or if you work in that speak a little Chinese for 'em, Derek warehouse, it's worth 4 entire years of all your labor. Absolutely unbelievable. You're not even remotely playing the same game. Even if you get boosted from $17 an hour up to $34 an hour, you double your income from there. You still have almost every worthwhile option not yet unlocked on the map. Anything you want to do costs more money than you're making. And you're making like 66 grand. Being a NEET might be the realest life for most of us. Even the people in Greenland are being offered a potential $100,000 for joining the U.S. Are they ever going to give you a straight up $100,000 in cash? Maybe if you pick up some type of tax credit or other benefits that might boost you artificially to 100K. But that's never going to hit the same as getting a $100,000 deposit in your checking account. Tax-free. How much did they give to the Venezuelans so that they could capture Maduro? Did they get some cash or maybe one of those Nike tracksuits he had on? Just like the El Presidente himself, Maduro. He had that fly-ass Nike tracksuit. And that's just the MAGA side offering those benefits to random foreigners. Then H-1Bs and random peasants from all over the world. Because both Republicans and Democrats are just handing them shit. That's America. And like Baudrillard was talking about, it's a utopia which has behaved from the very beginning as if that were already achieved, as if it was a utopia from the very start. It always was. It'll be okay, though. The Chinese are leading the way in job opportunities in these strange and strained times. If you're a Mandarin speaker, you can go get an alternative gig in a lower cost living region of the People's Republic. You don't got to work in a warehouse in the U.S. Because I was reading another article about how women in China are now paying male hosts to simulate different pre-scripted activities or actions with them. It's not explicitly sexual. There's an undertone, but it's not male prostitution. It's not like the Japanese version. That's where rich women pay for guys to drink, eat, and hold conversations with them. I'm sure that those dudes probably do get to smash, and the Japanese ones. So in Japan, it is much more of an escort style model of interaction. But this article was talking about the Chinese version. It's at some kind of theme park, and the men are even referred to as NPCs. And they mostly have to do these little pre-planned micro tasks that are designed to emotionally spike and make these Chinese women all gooey. That's my editorial interpretation I'm adding to the article. And for this, the man makes about double what he could make working in the local factory. And he gets the LARP as their version of the Chad. He's a Giga Chad. The Giga Chong, whatever the pronunciation is. Sorry, I don't speak Mandarin Chinese. I'm not qualified for this job or the $17 an hour warehouse job. But the NPC, he gets paid for carrying around these women like they're a princess. It's a princess carry for 10 to 20 seconds. And he does this like 100 times a day with different women. And he doesn't refuse anyone. Even the fat women get scooped up and carried by this man. Which, I guess that's China. And being fat there is much different than American or even Mexican standards. I had a job that was physically similar when I was 19. And that was working as a lifeguard in a water park. So, if you've ever been to Wet n Wild or any places like that, some of the water slides require you to be able to pull yourself over the hump at the top, particularly on the rides where you're in a single or two-person raft. So there's this pool of water. There's like a little hump to keep you in place until it's your turn to go down the slide. And you got to like launch yourself kind of over it. It's not difficult. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but morbidly obese women don't have great upper body strength. Shocking, I know. If you put two of them in a raft together, it requires them both trying to pull themselves over the hump. The water that's pooled in there serves both as some kind of flotation. Even the water's struggling to keep this up, okay? And a lubricant to help pull them over. And then you, as the lifeguard, as the person operating the ride, you got to try to push them over like it's a tackle sled in football. And that shit is exhausting, believe me. So I feel for these NPC guys that have to carry fat Chinese women around and up a hill just so these slobs can simulate some sort of fairy tale fantasy that they have for themselves. Again, though, try carrying the average American woman up a hill. Them hoes weigh more than the average man did 60 years ago. JFK, he was a war hero. Why? Because he pulled and swam survivors from his PT boat. The boat got sunk, and then he had to like pull and carry grown men on his back while swimming in like shark-infested water, I'm sure. But nowadays, you got to pull or carry around some woman that same size, at least that size. Where the hell's your Purple Heart? You gonna get the Navy Cross or whatever, the Navy Marine Corps medal? No. And 160, 70 pounds is considered average. We're not even talking about the 300 plus pounders. If this Chinese NPC guy, his hosting job, if this sort of thing ever makes it over to the US, you'd have to go on disability after 30 minutes of trying to pick these heifers up. You ever seen William Refrigerator Perry? That guy, he was considered comically large when he played for the 1985 Bears, the Chicago Bears. He's like at 330, 350. Imagine telling someone in the 1980s, going back in time, that your job was to princess carry someone that size dozens of times per day. They wouldn't believe you. And you're doing this while this person may be developing sexual feelings towards you. And you have to be professional and turn them down gently. I think we will see this migrate to the US. I know we're decoupling from China, but at some point we're going to have these sorts of jobs. Gender relations amongst the lower and middle classes are breaking down. Women are breaking sofas, and it's a race with the GLP drugs and the Chinese peptides to see if their appetite-suppressing technologies can successfully outpace the gluttony of the United States of America. It's a race, and it's going to be a photo finish, I can tell you that. But these NPC guys in China, some of them offer piggyback rides or that princess carry on for a longer version than the 10 to 20 seconds. They do a full hike carrying these women. So we're talking an extra long trail that takes a full 5 hours to complete. For that physical exertion, this NPC man also has to do a whole boyfriend experience routine during the hike. The NPC will make roughly the equivalent of $140 US. Maybe I was too tough on those $17 to $23 an hour jobs that I was talking about earlier. $140 for carrying around some woman that you don't even get to bang after, and you got to do that for 5 fucking hours. God bless those guys. God bless you, Chinese NPC. It's interesting, though. These dudes have to market themselves on social media and post ad pictures and this emotionally charged copy in order to attract clients. But it's not just carrying women. There are also guys who have alternative gigs like this, and they get to do motorcycle photo shoots with the clients and then doing other micro activities. Maybe all these guys, I don't know if they're all specialists and they do like one of each, or they do like a whole array of offerings. That's what I would do. For instance, one of the other ones is pretending to be the woman's boss and pinning them to the wall and getting real close to talk to them and just generally dominating them for like 20 or 30 seconds. Would you do that? Listeners, would you be a domineering NPC when this comes to America? Remember, you have to do this a few hundred times per day. And I guess you'd be making the equivalent of double what a job that doesn't require a degree pays. Let's call it $30 to $35 an hour. Male NPC hosting jobs are the future. You throw in 401k and dental. Does that do anything for you? You got to be a warrior, though. You can't fall in love with these women. It's like the Chinese NPC, that guy, he said in the article, quote, "I want to do better than their boyfriends, but I cannot fall in love with them." It's a tough man, a man of guts. And you got to have this assembly line sort of efficiency. There are time limits and boundaries put in place to protect each person. And you as the man are performing this emotional, spiking lap dance on them. A different type of labor versus the eroticism of the stripper. You have to make them feel like they have a boyfriend and either, treat them well, be a slave of sorts, or even scaring the hoes. Whatever the job requires, it's predictable. It's a safe experience for them. And for you, it's possibly, this is a thought of mine, it's possibly less demeaning than working for some Globocorp, some other Globocorp. I'm sure there's some corporation behind this. Maybe not. Maybe being in a service role to a bunch of girl bosses who are lonely, that might be a harrowing experience. Even if you're in the role where you have to be an overtly dominant boss, you have to be the domineering man. But even with all the AI talk about eliminating jobs, the depersonalization and lack of inherent danger in life in the day-to-day experience of most people is creating job opportunities for you guys. You can monetize your physical presence and adopt the right persona to make these women gush down there, and you don't even have to plow them. They probably have the Chinese equivalent to fake email jobs. They're bored and certainly don't have anything approaching a satisfying romantic or social life. And you are a man. Either way, the Chinese version or the upcoming American version, you have limited viable economic opportunities. You're the same as the Chinese counterpart. And you're never going to attract a woman like this because you make less money. But they still want your attention in this very specific way if you're in good shape. But she doesn't get the marriage. She gets the physical labor and protective dominance fantasies. Those are satisfied. And you get to go home to your chicken and rice dinner that you got to eat to keep that physique leaned up. And you got to get up the next day and the day after that and carry more women up a trail for 17 seconds or the full 5 hours. You both go home alone and feel like you've had an actual lived experience. So, Chinese society, I've been getting into it. I saw another article about this, about sort of the online lives and dating world of Chinese people. And the article mentioned a documentary that explores how there are women that married women can hire. And no, again, it's not for some hot girl-on-girl action. This one's not sexual between the client and the boss, whatever word I'm looking for. Instead, the married woman hires one of these women to get involved with her husbands. And you're like, what's going on? Because the husband already has a mistress. So this, I guess, third woman, this third wheel woman for hire becomes his second mistress. She weasels her way in there and pushes the original mistress out of the picture. Thus, once complete, once this plan is brought to fruition, the marriage is saved, as both the mistress and the hired gun are out of the picture, and the wife gets her husband back. Seems like a flawed plan to me. Now the husband has presumably smashed 2 different women outside of his marriage, at least. I'm sure the hired gun says she doesn't have sex with the husband, but why would you have a mistress that you're not going to, clap? Fuck out of here. He's got a taste of it. Maybe he only had one mistress. Now he thinks he's gotten 2. And now you, the wife, want to try and put him on a severely restricted pussy diet. Why won't he just go out and get another mistress? Again, flawed plan. There are questions about the Chinese relationship market that I want answers to. I might have to rent this movie. It's called Mistress Dispeller. It's on Amazon, I think. So I might review that or just watch it for my own enjoyment. You got to get rid of the mistresses by any means necessary. It's sort of the sequel to the American film Maduro Dispeller. Are we going to talk a little bit about that? A little bit of Venezuela now? I know it's old news, but wild operation. But that's not particularly important now. You've heard all the stories. What is important is that interview with the security guard of Maduro, how they got hit with the Havana syndrome weapons and whatnot. They're bringing out the big guns. If that's true, when do they utilize the UFOs? Is that going to be an Iran operation? They're not going to use it for Greenland. Greenland's too easy. Cuba, Canada, probably not. They're going to try to go after all these countries. Iran is when I think they'll bring out the UFOs if we go to war with Iran, because they're going to try with missile strikes, and because Iran's this mountain fortress, a long history, the people aren't going to stand for it. They're not going to cower. So you're going to have to really, bring out some technology they ain't never seen before outside of movies. That's what I'm waiting for them to break out and finally use. If the U.S. government has permission to use them, that is, the UFOs, or even has possession of such a craft. And it's not solely at the discretion of the breakaway civilization. So the president would have to, he's probably already been briefed. Rubio knows about the existence. They've been talking about disclosure and everything, right? But the breakaway civilization of contractors and scientists and rich people and military folks, that's been going on since the 40s, supposedly. We'll have to get their approval because they're a lot of what the supposed alien encounter stories are. However, if we're thinking about how easy it was for them to deploy the Havana syndrome weapons, if this actually did occur, or at the very least, they pay off the right people, they paid off the right Venezuelans within that country to easily take Maduro prisoner. If we take that in consideration, just think about how none of these easy solutions that we can apply to foreign interventions, whether it's the missile strike in Iran or the Maduro operation or whatever. It can never be applied to domestic problems. And maybe your solution isn't to use these sorts of weapons on U.S. soil. Maybe you say you got to have more of some kind of mental health facilities to, for the homeless or the drugged out schizo population. Okay, I'm willing to entertain that idea. But also let's keep ourselves open to the use of whatever that Havana syndrome weapon is. Some sort of gun or pulse or sound machine. I don't know. I didn't see what it is, what it looks like. We got to use that to scramble the brains back in place of those people who are doing the fentanyl on our city streets, all these drug addicts. I have a theory that it'll have the opposite effect than it does versus a sober person. A sober person gets their brains scrambled. This unscrambles for people on fentanyl. Or, screw Iran. Let's really release the UFOs onto the streets. Imagine waking up from that leaned over posture. You're high off fentanyl, right? And then you wake up and you're inside of a spaceship with the gray aliens looking down at your nude body with their giant bug eyes, and they're performing some type of medical experiments on you. Having that experience might shake you out of your drug addiction quickly. Will it not? Perhaps you become even more traumatized. Maybe you become more of a traumatized drug addict after that. Or maybe you sober up and take stock of your life. You realize that you need to figure out what the hell happened to you on that ship. So you start to read every book on alien abduction. You stop with the drugs. You read every book available in your local library. You're no longer the local homeless man who's jerking off, shitting, and sleeping in the library. You're now a scholar. And really, that's geopolitics in a nutshell. Power projection, whether it's domestic or foreign. You do what you do to foreign adversaries and you bring it home to correct the imbalances of this country. Things are getting more and more mask off and buck wild out there. Venezuela, Greenland, Iran. I don't think those last two are really good ideas. Just on record. I'm on record saying that. The Greenland thing seems absolutely retarded to me. When you've already got free reign up there and you're just pissing off allies now. I know. You're required to say bad things about Europe all the time. But Denmark has always been cool with us, and now they're not. And if you actually think that China is a threat, why would you alienate the continent that could help you significantly embargo trade in the event of a kinetic conflict or a deepening of the economic war? I read in some book that if we tried to do it alone, embargo China, their trade, and they cut off trade with us, we'd have a slight advantage in terms of economic impact. We could do more harm. But that's only slightly. And if we combined with Europe, Japan, Korea, Australia, China effectively gets crippled economically. No, Europe, these countries actually do still have specialized workforces with certain manufacturing capabilities, contrary to the narrative about Europe being worthless. I feel like I have to say this. One, because it's a podcast and I need to talk about things. And two, because I think it's true. I know in the new national security strategy, Europe isn't considered important in the longer term due to its own weaknesses, from being broke to being a group of rapidly aging nations. But my question is, are you pulling the plug too early on that? I'm sorry as an American if I enjoy Europe as a continent and as cultures even if the European Union is a lame, sclerotic bureaucracy. It is. Now you're just burning bridges to fully acquire Greenland, threatening the 10% tariff. It's always the tariff. Also, if they don't comply, Denmark already pays the people who live there. They take care of all that, and we can do whatever we want up there, whether it's for controlling satellites in orbit or AI data centers or whatever. I've heard multiple things, multiple reasonings, not just militarily, but the trade route, the rare earth minerals and other natural resources they may have. I've heard all these excuses, and you could have gotten almost any of them done without any hesitation on the part of Denmark or NATO or whoever. I know Europe is still buying Russian oil. That's another thing. But hey, man, do you need to do it this way? That's my question. It's just like Henry Kissinger once said in terms of geopolitics, or a power projection, and he was talking about China specifically, and he said, "Look at the map. How many friends can China point to?" But he was meaning that they were much more isolated than the U.S. They could start making more friends out of the ones we start losing. So what would Henry Kissinger say now about this? But maybe if they were to spread their assholes, perhaps that would change things. Perhaps China would make more friends. Maybe the burning of the bridges, maybe burning them now and seizing Greenland is a better long-term strategy. Since there's no actual consensus behind why the admin would be doing all of this, maybe there's some power player sort of move behind all of this, and it has to be a domino that falls. Maybe Euros would never go along with a real embargo of China. Perhaps it's all dead weight and the system is getting transformed into something better. Or maybe it is pure retardation. Either way, I look forward to watching future episodes of Geopolitical Theater, as long as it doesn't harm me, as long as there's no war that kills me or injures me or that I have to go fight in, because it's frankly more entertaining than having to watch Stranger Things or whatever else.